Well, this is a hell of a thing to wake up to, I'll tell you. Having sleepy issues left and right has been driving me nuts these days, I swear. You know, in some of these videos I'm not supposed to be cursing up a storm at this point over here because of rules and regulations that other groups have, including Google and Facebook and Twitter concerning about language. Where I have to find colorful idioms and metaphors to use instead of the usual saltier language, including the word F-U-C-K. Pisses people off left and right. Well, do you blame them? I mean, I know that language has been out there for how many centuries? And yet people are having an issue over this damn thing. Well, what the hell? So, who the hell am I? Well, barely awake John. Barely awake Weaver, who's barely awake in Rosamond, California, a little after 4 o'clock in the frickin' morning Pacific Standard Time, wondering why he's up in this god-awful hour in the first place. Actually, it's 4:23 in Pacific Standard Time. Now, doing a couple of videos over here to get things off my damn chest. So, now with the colorful idioms and everything else going on, people want nice, clean language. Sorry, First Amendment. But then again, when I was talking about in my other videos, that changes things a lot. So you have to modify the insults and the gripes and the grumbles and everything else going on left and right, because we have to show that kind of situation. Well, I understand that. And then again, when you're so used to being a way of talking and operating, it makes people rather look at you in a funny way, don't they? Like, why are you using that kind of language in the first place? Well, why not? It's disrespectful. Against who? Against whom? Against what? Well, against me. Well, did I happen to use language against you yet? Well, no. Well, see, we have no issue then, don't we? But they're still using it wrong. The general consensus out there concerning about it. In one particular video, I was sending over to Michael Smerconish of CNN. I was trying to talk about First Amendment rights and entities and corporations and Supreme Court stuff, and unfortunately, the orange gas bag named number 45. But there was also another one concerning about freedom of speech regarding a student in North Carolina, which I really got to refresh my memory actually on this one of what school and more situation about it. The other thing I understood early in the morning when I was perusing my smartphone for news issues to go over. There was a North Carolina student who wore a Mexican flag over her gown, or his gown. Had a conniption fit. Actually, the school board and the school had a conniption fit because it wasn't what appropriate attire was supposed to be, and yet they called the motherboard, which was the plastic caps that they wore. Somebody could put a Mexican emblem or a flag on that, and there'd be no issue with your. They would have no issues, but a flag draped over their shoulders. Oh. And this person can't even graduate properly because the schools have an issue over this damn thing. The last hurrah, which kind of. I'm trying to figure this out here. What was the school's major malfunction originally here? I mean, did they have a problem concerning about racism going on? And also an issue with freedom of speech at this point over here? Because why pick on the students who have the Mexican flag when they're graduating in a school, trying to demonstrate their freedom of speech and their happiness to be who and what they are? And now we got schools saying, "Oh no, you can't do that. We got our last thing over here. You can't get it." So yeah, I did mention the R word in this one, the ugly R word, racism, discrimination, racial discrimination. Man, lawyers should be having a field day over this damn thing. Should be having the First Amendment situation, throwing them to the Supreme Court, all the way up to the Supreme Court concerning about this one if they could. But lower court rulings will just be fine anyway, because there should be a lower court ruling somewhere regarding dress codes. Pisses me off. I didn't have this kind of problem a long time ago, but then again, we didn't have this kind of problem a long time ago either. Kiss asses on everything, and we didn't have the First Amendment right being torn apart left and right like we have it these days. And we didn't have the social media like we have right now as it is. I mean, if nobody ever heard about the damn thing, if we didn't have the social media, we didn't have the video cameras going on and posting it everywhere, we wouldn't have known about the damn thing, now would we? Original Denny. Oh, God. This one guy. Was it Original Denny? I'm reminded of, if we're going to be bringing in Blue Lives Matter at this point. Give me a stick here. In here. Ah. I know. I need to get a haircut in the worst way. I'm waiting for the barber shops to get established again so I can get my hair going. Get it trimmed at least majorly. I hate it when I lose the train of thought concerning about freedom of speech. And I was also talking about Blue Lives Matter at this point over here. And if we didn't have the video about Rodney King getting his ass kicked back in 92 or 91 actually, we wouldn't have cared about it and we wouldn't have had a riot. So the power of the camera. So I have to give credit to the power of the camera, but then again, I have to be wary of the camera itself. See, the camera is like a corkboard. It records everything that we get to record on. And then we post by using our decision power. We control, as much as we can, of what we put out there for the public to see and view and talk about. Now, I'm wondering if anybody else has realized this stuff. The power of the press to talk about it, but I'm saying the power of the camera and the power that we have literally in our hands. And the responsibility of that, too. See, that's the thing. The power of the pulpit is alluring, dangerous, deadly at times, and too compelling for its own use. But this is what we use to get our points across in whatever devices that we use, including cameras and microphones, digital tapes, so to speak, if we want to use it that way. But whatever kind of medium that we use, we have to understand the power that we have, and it scares me at times. It scares me. Because now I'm looking at this camera that I was beholding in a certain limelight, in a certain viewpoint. I was looking at that thing and figuring it's going to be a friend. Sometimes it could be a royal nightmare and turning against us when we least expect it. Much like the power of the pen. Granted, it's eraser made, but it still works. This device. Simple, isn't it? Filled with a chemical to be put on a flattened piece of papyrus or processed into something called paper. And by itself, without manipulation, it seems harmless, isn't it? Much like the camera. But notice what holds it. Notice what's attached. Notice what body. Notice the brain. Notice the person itself. Physically, I can dance this thing between my fingers. Not very well. But put this on a piece of paper. and give me but an hour. As long as the pen doesn't give out, I will write something. I will write something either profound or not profound. And that is profound. Not profane, but profound. I'm thinking about this even as I talk about this. It's the same feeling. It's the same feeling of giddiness, of alluring. I'm lured into the world of communication. I'm lured into something like this because I've taken it for granted for so long that I fail to understand, I fail to grasp that this damn thing here, this plastic encased, liquid filled device, when used with fingers, going to nerves and muscles, thinking about that this morning. Just taking the time off from trying to talk about the higher ups concerning about legals and freedom of speech and stuff like that. No, but the power of it itself, the power of communication, the power period. Power. Sometimes we take it for granted and we don't even realize what the hell the damn thing is in the first place. This scares me sometimes. We are so influenced by each other. We are so influenced by what we see that we write it out like crazy. We're amazed at our work and everyone is amazed at the work. But we should have been more aware of other things beyond that as well. I know I'm getting a little bit too deep and too sappy for a hell of a lot of people, but for me this is kind of profound a bit because nobody talks about this anymore. Not in classes, not in public, nowhere. So why do I feel like the only jerk around here that talks about the power of the pen? But the power of communication. Do we realize how lucky, how fortunate, and how scary we are as a species on a world that deals with different forms of communications? That even in the thing of communication itself is scary enough because we convey information, messages, thoughts, feelings, our whole life story, if need be. We put it in artistic, we can put it in linguistic, we can put it into paper, we can put it into any form to communicate to people effectively of this. Do we not understand that even this kind of ability, this power, whatever hell you would call it, we take it for granted all the damn time without even realizing what the hell it is? And it scares the hell out of me. We can make or break. We can create or destroy. We can generate or we can degenerate. With simple linguistic tools at our command. With keyboards being pounded to generate our thoughts, our feelings, our ability to express ourselves, to draw, to paint, to create videos like this in a camera, to talk about something like this. we not understand that the power to communicate is both a gift and a curse at the same time? And that we take it for granted. But if we can't communicate, we can't express ourselves in any way, shape, or form, then how are we able to get our thoughts and our meanings to the next, well, to the next entity, I guess, or the next subject, to talk about a subject? We talk about we talk about our rights, we talk about our freedoms left and right. Me, I'm more and more about the freedom of speech than anything else these days. I don't care less about damn gun rights. Due process is also important as well. Very much so. Taxation, well, governments need the money to work on in the first place. Otherwise, don't start screaming for them for help if they haven't got your pockets picked enough to do the damn job that you're asking for them to do. Put it in a nutshell. What I'm doing right now is communicating this to the public, to you, to whoever listens to this damn thing. And I'm using that, using words, I'm using language, I'm using linguistics, I'm using body language, I'm using whatever forms of communication I am consciously and subconsciously aware of. Or sometimes not even aware of it subconsciously. But the freedom to do so. I talk about the higher, loftier goals, but not the device itself that we're still using with or without our knowledge of it. I wake up in the morning and I do logs constantly because I wanted to get stuff off the chest. In the event that I am not able to function very well, at least I would leave a set of instructions maybe for someone to listen to hopefully act upon. Notice choice is the word I use. Not very comforting, are they? Not very direct. Not very demanding or commending. But hopeful, maybe, if it's going to happen or not. And I use it all the time. We're constantly flooded by communication all the time. But we're also not aware of the power that's around us. And it scares me. When I started thinking about situations like this, when I started talking about topics like this, do people actually understand what's going on? Do they care? Do they actually try to figure stuff out left and right? I mean, can they actually understand the forms of communication that we use right now? Are the ways that we have to express ourselves one way or another, that we can be actually understood one way or another? The power of the pen. With this, I have ability. With a tool like this, I have ability. I can write whatever it is that comes up in my head or my heart to be jotted down on paper. To be an influence, to be a marker, to be a recorder, to be an observation, to be a statement, to be something beyond me. You know how heady that is, that we take it for granted? Do you know, to think of a thought like that is unheard of? To come across a feeling like that, the whispering feelings that come across is like the feeling of power. Power. And that's what scares the hell out of me. Because knowing some of those roads of that nature, That's why I have to stay the hell away from them. The power of this, the power of communication. This is just a simple device. Ink on paper, controlled through by a metal tip and a ball with pressure, mechanical engineering, a plastic tube running through this pen, and plastic covering here, an eraser to get rid of the ink. By itself, you think it's harmless. Of course, someone could use it for self-defense, but by its own purpose is to communicate. But to communicate what? That's where the power of headiness comes in. That's why I'm talking lowly at this point over here, because I am awed. I am awed. And to think about topics like this early in the morning, or coming close to sunrise. One would think a lack of sleep is doing that to me, but sometimes you have to think and weird thoughts like this, because it is pretty damn weird, because nobody talks about stuff like this anymore. We take it for granted. Pens like these are a dime a dozen. Camera phones, not so much. Laptops, not so much. Even worse. Newspapers can be recycled. All the materials can be recycled, except for the power. The power. Now that's too damn heady for me to think about this morning.